All right, we'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Approve council claims in the amount of $12,223,209.97.
Over 11 million of that is going right out in tax settlement payments to the school district, the county, and then the technical college. So, yep, that's a big one.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to purchase a 2019 Jeep Cherokee in the amount of $19,634.
Good evening, everyone. Mike
Mike.
Mraz, Director of Public Works. So most of you know that we're currently in the process of hiring a engineering tech for the engineering department. And the original intent was to purchase a vehicle for that employee to run to and from job sites, development, so on and so forth. And we had earmarked about $40,000 to do that purchase when that employee's hired. However, a more affordable option has been presented to us, which is buying out the lease for the fire chief's vehicle, which expires on the 27th in the amount of $19,634. I put in my issue sheet that similar vehicles with the same amount of miles is going about $30,000 on the open market, so we're saving $10,000 right off the top. So brought this forward to Aaron. Aaron thought it was a great idea. And actually the intent is the Jeep would go to the building inspector, and then the building inspector's current vehicle would go to the engineering tech. So building inspector is pulling some rank. So funding would come from undesignated capital earmarked for the vehicle purchase.
How many miles are on the 2013 Equinox?
Boy, I don't even know. I don't know, Joyce, to be honest with you.
I mean, is that, are you expecting that one to last for
Yes,
a while?
yep.
I mean, how much longer do you expect to have that car?
You know, I'd like to at least have it for another 3 to 5 years, if we can make it that far with that vehicle. That'd be
Okay.
great, yeah.
Right, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to purchase 2 Toro Z-Master 7500 series mowers in the amount of $26,044.72.
Yeah, so mine again, obviously after last council meeting where council reallocated those funds, staff went out and got a couple quotes from some local commercial vendors for lawnmowers. The 2 are listed in the issue sheet, including trade-in, Toro, Tri-State Bobcat on just the outskirts of town was the lowest quote that we received. We had designated $30,000 in the CIP to purchase these mowers, so $4,000 under budget. So staff's recommending the purchase of the 2 new zero-turn lawnmowers.
So is there a difference between those two models as far as how, life expectancy or any other?
You know, from my experience, Toro's a little more well-made. You probably expect maybe 2 to 3 more years out of that unit.
Okay, so-
Higher trade-in value. They're just, more of a commercial type unit. A lot of golf courses use them. Obviously, we've had Skaggs. They're a great company. We just found that, Toro and being a local company that we tend to kind of lean towards that and want to use them. And the fact that they came in lower than the Kenny Power Sport kind of just sealed the deal. So.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to approve the bid by Skid Steer Guy in the amount of $1,259,783.05 for the Lakefront Park Boat Ramp reconstruction.
All right, so I'll take the initial kind of just bid letting opening, kind of describe that, and then Aaron is going to take the funding portion, kind of explain that, because there's some options there that Finance Committee has, how to fund this project if approved. So obviously, we opened up bids on February 16th for this project. It's been a long time in the making. 4 contractors bid on the project, as was listed in the issue sheet, lowest one being Skid Steer Guy in the stated amount. Contrary to the company's name, I did reach out to a number of general contractors, and in fact, Market & Johnson has been hiring this company to do some of their excavating work in other municipalities and cities. So I was relieved to hear that, because if you just look at the name, it's like, there's no way he knows what, he's gonna get in over his head. So that put some of my worries aside. Obviously, the fact that we got 4 different bids on this project speaks, volumes to people wanting to come into the city. I mean, you got people coming from Athens, Wisconsin bidding on the project. Obviously, low bid is $1.2 million, which is roughly $300,000 in the next highest bid. So, staff would look to recommend approving skid steer guy for this project. So Aaron, I'll toss it over to you, and you can kind of explain the funding mechanisms that the Finance Committee has, options.
Yep, so if you remember when we talked about these projects way back in October, we said we basically had 2 riverfront projects we're working on. There's the boat ramp reconstruction, and then there's also the recreational piers docks project. We received grants for both, but the grants for the recreational piers took more time to be officially approved than we anticipated, so we didn't want to delay any projects. We bid this project first. So with the very competitive bid we received, we have basically $350,000 remaining to fund. If you remember and we did attach the memo from October on this agenda too as a reminder, but we had allocated recommended allocating a certain amount of money from TID 6 to these 2 projects. So I'm keeping that plan in place for right now with this, where we're using basically half that TID revenue for this project, and we're leaving the other half available still for the other project, depending on how those bids come in. So with that, it leaves us about $350,000 to fund. Now, I would recommend approving the project tonight without actually locking in on this final $350,000 in funding, basically because we are in the process of going out for bids for the transient dock project, and we'd like to see what those bids come back in at. If they also come back in under what our estimate is, we may not have to, worry about identifying where to get this $350,000 from, because we may be able to use the TID revenue from TID 6 that we had identified for that other project. Now, if that other project comes in, let's say at estimate, then we'd have to come back to the council to make this decision on what to do with that remaining $350,000. But what I would say at this point, we have a number of options. We can look at using ARPA funding. We are going to be talking about that at our next council meeting. We can look at using some of our capital funds that we have on hand right now. So we have, as we talked about before, some remaining capital funds from projects over the last few years that came in under budget that we could use towards this. And if we, worst case scenario, if we had to, we could actually bond for this $350,000, but I don't see us needing to do that between the other sources. So I guess at this point, what I would just say is, if the council can, the Finance Committee can recommend approval of this project as is, we will identify the source of that $350,000 at a future date once we know what the bids come in at for the other riverfront project.
Did they have any references that you could see on the bid opening, as far as projects they've done in the past?
No,
Skid steer.
Yeah, skid steer guy. So when I was in New Richmond, we did hire them to do some stormwater pond work. That was about 5 years ago, and he was a lot smaller. He's kind of come a long ways in 5 years. He actually has.
He did a good job for you up there?
Yep. But he does. He has a lot. He has staff. A couple more staff on hand, and he has heavier equipment to do larger projects. Like I said, they were doing some excavating work for Menominee School District here last summer for Market & Johnson on a project. They've been over in Eau Claire as they're out of Mondovi. So they're doing a lot of work in that area. But after talking to Market & Johnson, I did, like I said, did put some of those concerns at ease for me anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's also affirmed by FOTH,
Yes. Yep.
is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll move for the approval and not locking down the remaining amount to be determined.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion?
I'd just like to say that I hope that we can finance the rest of this out of the additional TID 6 revenue. That would be the best way of paying for this project.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of a letter of engagement with SEH for design tasks related to demolition of the old fire station building and expansion of the Williams lot.
Thank you, Finance Committee. As per directed by City Council, we have reached out to our consultants in regards to preparing plans for the demolition of the old fire station building and then reconstructing that area as an extension of the Williams Lot parking lot. As we kind of explored more into this project and talking with our consultants and stuff, we kind of have realized it's more the complexities, I guess, with the project, in particular how the existing building kind of holds up the retaining wall along 3rd Street. And because of that, the funding or the design amount kind of reflects that complexity a little bit more than what we had anticipated to begin with. We reached out to both SEH and Bolton & Mink. SEH gave us a better quote for this work, so that's why we, and they've done similar work. They've just recently in Richmond oversaw, so to speak, the demolition of the BB building, if anybody's familiar with that, the older building in their downtown area too. So they've done the work and they gave us a better price, so that's why we're proposing to move forward with SEH for this work. Any questions?
Do you have a ballpark of what it's gonna cost to?
That's a great
Take down the
question.
building?
Right now with the unknowns with that retaining wall on the 3rd Street side, I just don't know yet until we get to that point, really.
Minus the retaining wall, what would you expect?
Minus the retaining wall, I think, with demoing the building and then also building the parking lot, it was over $100,000. I don't know exactly what it's going to end up being. It also kind of depends on, with this quote, we have a few soil borings in there to kind of understand where the bedrock is and to see that leads into exactly what we can do for the parking lot design and that kind of thing. So we'll know a lot of the answers to those questions after we've kind of gone through that process. And obviously it'll be coming back to Finance Committee and Council, Oh, yeah, and there likely is some hazardous materials in the building too that we have to kind of identify where those are and what remediation would be needed for that.
I
So
mean, like asbestos?
asbestos probably is the most likely
What else?
contaminant.
What else do you expect to find? It could be
Who knows?
anything.
That's something SEH
That's why
has
you have an
identified.
engineer to take
Yep.
care of this stuff.
And somebody more experienced in structures than I am, so.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Discussion, thanks, Dean. Discussion possible action to approve master development agreement with ABM.
So if the Finance Committee remembers, earlier this year, we did approve having ABM take a look at our overall city facilities for some potential energy efficiency savings, things like that. So they've done the broad kind of look and identified some potential projects. So now what they want to do is what's called an investment grade audit of our facilities. And so that's a much more in-depth process. And so with that, they'll identify specific projects and prepare the actual documents and things to and take those projects out for bid and things like that to address the energy efficiency, energy savings, things like that. Part of the process is they develop what they call a guaranteed maximum price. So we'll know exactly when we go out and do this work, here's the most it'll cost us, and then here's how they see us being able to pay for it. And usually what that looks like is a mixture of energy savings, potential rebates and incentives and things like that from the various utility companies and things that are out there. And then if we have any sort of cash contribution of our own towards these projects. The goal is to try to identify and do projects that kind of self-fund themselves through the combination of all those things. Obviously, there's no guarantee until they get into more depth and do the further planning and things like that. So the cost to move forward with this is basically $20,000. Now we don't have to pay anything towards that if we go ahead and do a project. So whether it's whatever project we decide to do, and it would roll that cost into it. Now, if we decide not to do a project, we would have to pay that fee, but then we do get all the planning documents, everything that we would need, so that, let's say we decide we wanted to delay, we just don't want to do these projects now, we could use those documents to go out for bid, 3 months from now, 4 months from now, whatever it might be, to do the project. So we still would have all the work that's done. It's just that we'd have to pay for that work now versus having it incorporated into those project costs. And then part of this, excuse me, if you saw in the proposal, is besides the energy efficiency things they are going to look at, we've had multiple requests for electric vehicle charging stations in different places around the community. They will look at also doing that as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. I've got nothing. Anybody?
I have 2 items. I'd like to review the room tax percentage and possible increase in the room tax portion of the city's collection. And then I didn't see on any of the agendas the TARPA fund breakdown that's going to be requested. So, I
The ARPA funds, did you say?
Yeah.
That's in the next meeting.
don't- okay. That's it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.